Hello and welcome to the Test of Time with me, Steve Harmison, here on 7 for 12. We go back to 2003, Adelaide, Australia versus India with the great Aakash CHOPRA. In lockdown, Aakash inspired me to bring this YouTube channel to the fore. And don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a review. Enjoy.
Keeper Harmison gets his reward. Been a brilliant spell of bowling. Harmison bowled a superb opening spell.
5 wickets for Stephen Harmison. Stephen Harmison take a bow.
Well, Aakash, thanks for joining us on the Test of Time. We're going to go back to Adelaide, 2003, Australia versus India. Second Test match. First Test match was drawn in Brisbane. But I want to take you back just a little bit earlier to 2001. You hadn't made your debut, but this series was magnified because of Laxman and Dravid batting all day, winning a Test match, coming from 1-0 down against Australia to win 2-1. Were you at home in 2001 thinking, I'd love a piece of that?
Absolutely. So, thank you very much, firstly, to just having me here. But 2001, well, that was the iconic series, and that was around the time when I was hoping to break into the Indian team in the near future. I was still playing first class cricket. I was still playing for India A, doing fairly well. And then keeping an eye on what is happening with the Indian cricket team. And that's what happens with all of us, isn't it? The moment we are just upgrading in our age group and then the first class level, you start looking at the international team, the national team, a bit more closely for how they are doing. And also, at some stage, you want to be a part of it, have a piece of it, like you just said. So 2001 series, it's still fresh in my memory because there are only a couple of, or rather 2 or 3 test series that I've watched where I've tried to not miss a single ball. And that 2001 series was one of them. One you've been a part of as well, 2005 Ashes. So those 2 series, of course, one India was involved, one where India wasn't involved. But I've loved watching both those series, and they're still very, very fresh.
It's always special to play against Australia, especially for an Englishman. But I think even for an Indian, even players around the world, to go and play. You make your debut in 2003. Just explain what it's like for an Indian to play cricket for India with 1.3 billion people eyes on you, and you're given the cap for the first time.
Oh man, it's a feeling that is very difficult to describe in words because the reality actually sets in very early that you're one of hundreds and thousands of kids who want to play cricket. So one, of course, is the population of the country, which is enormous, and then just the sheer number of kids who play cricket. So it's not just a handful of people, a few thousand, like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kids who are trying to make it to the team. There are as many as 550, 60 first class cricketers who are once again eyeing for the same spot. So playing for India, well, it's like a dream. I was in a trance when I got the call up. I do not even recall everything that happened in the first test match. So I was playing in Saurashtra, Rajkot, an India A game once again against New Zealand, and there I was told that now you're in the Indian team. Take a drive to Ahmedabad. You're playing the first test match, and it took time for the reality to sink in. So playing for India, sometimes when you're growing up, it seems like a dream too far. But when it comes true, of course, you're on the top of the world. You think that you've achieved the ultimate thing that is there to be achieved by an Indian cricketer. But the funny thing, as you would know, once you play for India, once you play for England, the day you put on that cap, maybe the first couple of hours, yes, everything is a blur. For me, perhaps the first test match. But then after that, you start thinking, okay, now I'm here. Let's make it to 100 test matches. Let's be here forever. So we all try our best, but yeah, it was fun while it lasted.
And like me, your first overseas tour was to Australia, and it is a daunting place. Brisbane first test, the draw. Second test, you go to Adelaide. And like me, my second test match in my career was in Adelaide against this great side. Steve Waugh wins a toss. No Shane Warne, no Glenn McGrath. We used a Delta blow as well because you had no Zaire Khan. For Patan, I think, made his debut in that game.
Correct.
He gets Hayden early, and then out walks Ricky Ponting on a flat pitch. Basically, Adelaide Oval is a flat pitch.
Man, they hammered us. They hammered us. That was the first taste of like real test match cricket in a lot of people's, like a lot of our lives, because playing in Australia, when I remember when we were boarding the flight to Australia, there were certain articles written in the newspaper, including some of board officials at that point in time, who said, "Why are you even going? It's going to be a four zip series because you can't win anything, can you? No team has won there anything, and don't expect anything different this time around. You play Brisbane, Brisbane gets drawn, and you feel very happy about it. But then you also know that by the end of the first test match, also, Australia had already started showing what they were made of. So, yes, they conceded the first innings lead, but after that, they actually were at our throat for the remainder of the test match. And now winning the toss, and it was hot, it was scorching. And they scored 400 runs in 2003 on day one. I mean, who does that? This is like you're getting hammered every single over, and there is no respite, and there is more coming, and then there is a hostile crowd, and then you suddenly start realizing, or rather questioning whether we are good enough to be here. Because if a team is scoring 400 on day one, the guy scored a double century. I mean, where is it all going? Because it can go only one way, because that's what has happened in the past. So yeah, day one was pretty much a nightmare of sorts on a very hot Adelaide day. Ricky Ponting took us to the cleaners.
And you mentioned Ricky Ponting. He got a double hundred. There was a passage where he got back in, but Simon Catich came in in the last session. I think he put on 130 with Ricky. And you mentioned 400 for five, like 400 for five on day one of a test match. Yes, Adelaide's a small ground. But in the dressing room after that day, where's Sourav Ganguly? Because he's captain. He come across to me as this. He changed a little bit of Indian mindset when he took over. He was this hard-nosed character that no matter what you got coming out of Australia, I'm coming back at you. And he played England the year before. I remember playing in England the year before, and he was at us. He was at England. And what was Sourav like as a captain?
Oh, well, a leader. I think certain players, certain people are born to lead. So very natural leader, a leader that India needed at that point in time. Somebody who could look into the eyes of the opposition and tell them that, we are not going to back down. We are here to compete. We are not just participants. We will do whatever it takes to just get one back at you. So the good thing is, and so Saurabh was an outstanding leader. Take nothing away from that fact. But there was also a strong leadership core, Harmi, at that time. So when you're looking at a Sourav Ganguly in isolation, of course, he's pivotal to what had happened to Indian cricket at that point in time. But then there was a Sachin Tendulkar. Then there is a Rahul Dravid. Then there is a Anil Kumble. Then there is also a VVS-Laxman. So when you look at all these 4 or 5 characters, you suddenly see a core that is determined, that is resilient, that is quality par excellence, and everyone possessed that never say die, never give in attitude. So this is the collective mindset. This was the collective mindset, because on that tour we had this motto: change the trend. So the whole idea was that all this while Indians have gone there and have been hammered. So now we are going to change that trend. We are going to set some new things, and that is what went through. Not on the end of that day's play, because everyone's knackered, but day two starting. The first chatter was, okay, guys, let's remind ourselves why we are here. There is something that we decided upon right at before the start of the series. Change the trend. Let's give it a good shot and see where we go. Yes, they're 400 for 5, but it only takes a couple of wickets, and we might just get back into the test match, and then who knows? So that core, I think, collectively just did something remarkable and changed the mindset of the entire, not just the Indian team, but India as a cricketing nation at that time.
And you mentioned coming out on day two, Gilchrist, he hit 12 off the first over, then gets out. Gillespie hangs around with Ponting. I think they put 80 on. What did they get? They got 5. They nearly got 600. Ricky gets 242. Anil Kumble gets 5 for 154. That's an eventful bowling. That's an eventful bowling spell at its best. And you go out to bat, opening the batting with somebody you know very well in Virender Sehwag. What's it like to go out to bat? and stand 22 yards away with Virender Sehwag when he's having one.
Okay, so Viru and I, we call him Viru with a lot of love. So we grew up together. So in a sense that we go back to our school days. We didn't play for the same school team. We were opponents, but I'm talking about 10th, 11th grade. So since then we've been together. He of course went on to play for India a lot before I did. So going out to bat with him at any level, or just having him, or being in his company was absolutely natural. It was nothing unnatural about it, or something that you would think about. Okay, this is a new experience, because you know this guy inside out. You've been there with him in the same dressing room for so many days and so many hours and months, that you're comfortable. So there was that camaraderie always, that we understood each other even without saying a word. That's why we ran well within between the stumps. He, for someone who would hit boundaries for fun, wanted a single every ball that he played. Singles were my lifeblood. So it just worked out very well on that day as well. So we had a decent opening partnership. So we put on. So India in the past had struggled to go through the new ball phase, and on that pitch in Adelaide, new ball was the only thing actually that was going to hurt you, because Vonnie wasn't there, right? So they did have McGill, but Magilla was not Vonnie, and then Simon Catich. So it's not the same kind of spin that's going to trouble the Indians. There was Gillespie, there was I think Andy Bickle.
Yeah.
Andy Bickle was there. There must be one more
Brad
guy.
Williams.
Uh,
Brad
so
Williams played.
Brad Williams was there, yes. So it's not the most threatening Australian attack. To be honest, I felt it was threatening because that was just my third or fourth test match. But for everybody else, nobody was losing sleep over this bowling attack, as long as you can negate the new ball threat, and then just bat sensibly. So we managed that. I thought we got 40, 50, 60 something in the opening stand. And then we went on to lose wickets. And whatever little advantage we had with the new ball, or at least negating the new ball, because I can tell you one thing. So whatever that partnership was, I don't know the number, but that must be more than the cumulative runs scored by the two openers in the three test matches on the prior tour, on the previous tour to Australia, 1999. So three test matches, six innings. I think the cumulative total must be 40 odd. So must have scored a lot more, like a few more than that in just one innings. So that just set the tone right, that once you're fielded for 560, whatever, 570, 600 runs, you don't want to lose a wicket up front. Just go in, and you're one down, because tired limbs, good bowling, you're done. Uh, Unfortunately, Sachin wasn't really going through the great patch. He was just making one mistake, and that was always an edge. He wouldn't get beaten, but then get caught behind on the down the leg side. One mistake outside of won't be beaten. It'll find the edge. And within no time, I think we were four down or something. Everything that was looking hunky dory just went pear shape in no time.
You mentioned four down. You're 85 for four. Was there a point in the dressing room? And I think there's probably points in both dressing rooms here. Was there a point in the dressing room? You're 85 for four. You've got Dravid and Laxman in. Are you thinking, oh, here we go again, Australia, in Australia, it's tough. But then quickly, Dravid starts hitting through extra cover nicely. You know, VVS's wrist is playing through, mid-wicket very, very nicely. And then all of a sudden, the Australians are going, uh-oh, here we go again.
Yeah, so you're right, because 2001 had happened. So that was still fresh in your memories. But with what actually happened in 2001, that Kolkata test match, it comes with a rider, I feel, that you think it happens only once, maybe once in a century, once in a generation. It's not going to get repeated, right? That you are being asked to follow on, then two batsmen get together, then they bat the entire day against a team as good as Australia. And the thing about Australian bowling, and that's always been their mindset and the quality of bowling that they had, even if it was not like McGrath and Gillespie, but and Vonnie, but they still had enough to induce mistakes, and that made them the special team, because whenever you played against them, you knew that okay, you can go on for so long, and then they will force you to commit an error. So like and it was like an unforced error. It wasn't unforced, right? It was a forced error by an opposition. So you don't have to throw away your wicket; you'll get a good ball. So when these guys got together, for the longest time, the thought of 2001 didn't cross my mind. I thought there's the cricketing wisdom suggested that a wicket is not too far. So it will happen, right? Both have batted well, but then there will be a second new ball. There will be something that will happen. A ball will turn. A ball will seem a lapse in concentration. So history doesn't repeat itself that quickly. Was my thought. But then it did, and they just kept batting, and for one full day, India didn't lose a single wicket, and the protagonists were the same who made that happen in Adelaide 2 years ago. Laxman, Rahul Dravid. This time, the shoe was in the other foot, where Rahul actually scored the double century, and Laxman ended a little short of a double century, something that happened in the reverse at the Eden Gardens. But it was absolutely phenomenal. Gave us a hope, gave us a belief that we're still in it. We were not thinking about a victory at all, but at least we are in it. We are not completely blown away in the second test.
There's something happened on that day which doesn't normally happen on a cricket field. VVS hit Stuart McGill over extra cover. It was a phenomenal shot, and you found yourself listening to Adam Gilchrist clapping his hands and saying, "Good shot." Not many times do your opposition say, "Good shot." That's how good this innings was. Do you think Gilly was thinking, "Well, we're back to 2001 again"?
It must be. And let me confess. So Laxman has that kind of effect on everyone. I remember, and I'm not kidding. I remember playing a first-class game against the side which had Laxman. He scored, I think, 185 odd runs. He was hitting a boundary and over, and he was not, and he was trying, like, he was so much of class and elegance that while fielding and hoping to get him out, you found yourself applauding every now and then that such a beautiful shot. I mean, how did he make that happen? So that is the kind of effect that Laxman had on everyone around, is what I feel. Very nice guy. Lovely to watch when he's batting. And I'm pretty sure at that time, anybody who had spent some time on that field at the Eden Gardens 2 years ago, 2001, they must have started already thinking, okay, these things are not going the way we wanted, and these two are here again. And is it the repeat? Yes, the only thing was that we fell short. We fell short, and they still were in the driving seat as far as that game was concerned.
And come on to right at the end of that, at the end of that innings, couple of quick wickets went after 303 partnership between Dravid and Laxman. Right at the end of the day, Rahul turned a single down to get to 200 because he didn't want to expose Kumble. That I played with Rahul Dravid and Virender Sehwag in the World 11 game in 2005, and I couldn't believe what two unbelievably lovely human beings them two guys are. Great guys. But is this typical Rahul Dravid, that he thought of the team before he thought of a personal milestone?
100%. That's like Rahul Dravid written all over it. Rahul will go through the wall. Rahul will do whatever it takes to make sure that the team is always getting benefited. And therefore, if you were to look at Rahul's career, this was just an example of who he was or who he is as a person. He started, okay, he played as a middle order batsman, moved on to number 3. Team asked him to open. He opened. Team asked him to keep. He kept. Team wanted him to bat at number 5 or 6 in one-day cricket, something that he was not even equipped to do. To honestly, the kind of batsman that he is, he should not be batting at 5 or 6 or 7, but he was the captain at that time. Captaining the Indian cricket team in the one-day format, nobody could have asked him, why, Rahul, you're batting at 3? But here he was batting at 5 or 6. Because he realized that, this is what the team requires more from Rahul Dravid, the player who he was at that point in time. So that is absolutely Rahul Dravid written all over it, that it was always going to be team first, and then Rahul Dravid. But what it means to Rahul was never important as long as the team was getting benefited.
Well, thanks to Aakash, and you can hear part 2 in a few days' time here on 7 for 12, The Test of Time, where he will talk about Rahul Dravid and what happened at the end of that fantastic test match. So please stay tuned.